Hi, my name is Peter, and I'm going to take you through some of the reference architectures that we have for the voice connectivity on Dynamics Contact Center. So it is really, really important to make the right choice from the get-go if you want to go and get started with Contact Center and the voice part of it. There's a few different kinds of scenarios that we can have. Obviously, when we're talking about a greenfield situation, right, it is a very easy setup. We can go with the all Microsoft setup and we'll go through how that looks and why it is important in just a bit. If you already have a current carrier, like for example Genesis or Anywhere 365, and you want to keep that and you want to put it on top of your contact center or your customer service premium installation, then the CTI integration is the reference architecture you're looking for. If you want to be very flexible and you want to keep your current carrier, then direct routing is the way to do it. And lastly, if you have a carrier that doesn't offer any integration and you're not able to move to another carrier just yet, transfer is a very temporary solution that you can keep an eye on as well. We'll go through all of these individually. Let's start out with the reference architecture one, the all Microsoft setup. So in this case, and you'll see similar pictures like this in the other reference architecture, we'll see all of the channels on this side. So we have voice coming in, chat, SMS, email, social channels. All of this is coming in through on the side. If we go with the all Microsoft route, we now have two different options. We got the Azure Communication Service, and the Azure Communication Service, that is the Azure part where we can buy numbers that we can attach direct routing to, where we can add WhatsApp. So it is basically a very important building block in our whole setup. The newest offering from Microsoft in the all Microsoft setup is next to ACS, next to Azure Communication Service, we also have Teams Unified as an option. So Teams Unified is the way where we can actually keep our Teams calling, we can keep our Teams infrastructure in place and route everything through there. So instead of Azure Communication Service that is drawn in here, you'll see Teams Unified in there. That is only applicable if you already have Teams calling or you have a greenfield and you want to set that up, right? Teams calling seems to be the way that Microsoft is heading, meaning that the Teams Unified offering offers much cheaper rates for calling per minute than Azure Communication Services does, right? So mind, if you have a greenfield setup, if you have no other things in place yet, that might be the way you want to go. From here, you'll go and perhaps go through self-service, right? We have chatbots or an IVR, which all live in Copilot Studio. And from there, you'll go to the unified routing. And in this routing block, we have the routing engine of Microsoft Dynamics do, for example, sentiment routing or preferred agent routing or shift-based routing. There's all sorts of different routing options that we can manage and we can apply. Routing will be a deep dive video later on. From here, we go and push it to an agent, right? And it is good to mention and good to know that in the all Microsoft setup, the agent experience is by far the most complete. That means that we have case and conversation summaries, we have sentiment analysis, we have real-time transcription, real-time translation, recording, all of that stuff, all of the Copilot goodness, the intent agent, the case AI agent, all of that stuff is in this experience if we pick the all Microsoft setup. Also, on the right side, you can see things like real-time monitoring for the supervisor, forecasting and scheduling, which is now part of the workforce management and workforce engagement module that is included in your license if you choose to have a voice license through Microsoft, right? And again, the Copilot suggestions. Of course, everything runs on Dataverse and everything runs on Azure Cloud. And obviously, we also have all of the Power Platform integrations regardless, right? So let's take a look at what happens if we pick the CTI route. So the CTI route looks a little bit different, and you can see it with a different color scheme. All of these channels, they might live somewhere else, like for example, Genesis, right? So if you have Genesis, it connects to a carrier of your choice and then can or cannot hand off to Copilot Studio, or perhaps they have their own kind of chatbot solution, right? It then hands it off to a routing engine, which is also not in Dynamics, right? So mind that this routing engine, if you pick, for example, Genesis, will happen inside of that product. It will not be in Dynamics. The same thing goes for things like real-time transcription, translation, sentiment analysis, and recording. All of this stuff is going to be happening inside the other product, like Anywhere or Genesis. Same goes for forecasting, same goes for scheduling. All of this stuff will not be included within Dynamics because it will leverage that functionality from your third-party integration. Now, mind if you choose this route that you will have to pick a provider that can replace these options if you want those. So this is not the most flexible option and definitely not the best bang for your buck. If you have a CTI from an old installation and you're still under contract, then obviously this is a great way to go. Dynamics is a very composable product, right? So Dynamics Contact Center is insanely composable, meaning that we can pick and choose which part we want to already onboard on Microsoft Native. We can say, hey, I do want to get started with Microsoft Voice on the native part, but I want to integrate chat through a third party, or the other way around, right? So we get to choose and pick whatever suits our situation best. Now let's talk a little bit about direct routing. So direct routing is where you bring your own carrier. So instead of having a carrier that is Microsoft, right? I can literally buy numbers from Microsoft. Perhaps I have my own block of numbers. I have my own carrier that I'm very happy with, that I got good calling contracts with, etc. And I want to just use one or more of those numbers inside of my contact center. Right? By using the direct routing option, I can connect my carrier to Azure Communication Service, right? And with that, I still have all of the flexibility on this end, where I have all of the bells and whistles on my Copilot side, like transcription and translation, etc. But I also have the flexibility of looking at my numbers and my telephony in a larger scheme outside of contact center, right? For example, perhaps I want to rewrite my outbound caller ID. That is something that you can do with direct routing, but you cannot do with the old Microsoft setup. And then lastly, if you have a carrier that you do want to onboard, but they're not there yet, they can't connect to an Azure Communication Service. We've seen many carriers that are not there just yet. You can opt for a temporary external PSTN transfer. Basically, if it comes in here, I'm going to just transfer the call to a number that I bought from Microsoft, and then we'll continue like the old Microsoft setup. Now, mind that this seems like a very flexible option, but you will have twice the calling cost, right? So obviously the customer pays from here to here, and you pay for this transfer from there to there. This is only great for a very temporary solution, right? This is not the end state that we want to advise to anyone. But if you run a proof of concept, if you want to run a proof of value, this is actually a great option to start with. Now, just to set the pros and cons on one sheet, right? If we take a look at this, then you can clearly see that the CTI integration is not the greatest option, and that direct routing next to the Microsoft option are more favorable. We are going to show you all of these voice setups in just one bit, right? So check out the next video to see how we do the old Microsoft setup, how we do the direct routing setup, how we do transfer, and how we do CTI integration.